Hi everyone, welcome back to the final session of the DeFi Bitcoin Bootcamp. I hope you're looking forward to our bonus session that was added halfway through the bootcamp today. We're going to learn about unlimited utility for Bitcoin and get an introduction to an up and coming project soon to be released. I'm going to invite our speaker, Kyle, up to join me on stage, and we're going to jump right in. We do have a very exciting announcement to make at the end of the session today, so please make sure that you stick around. But otherwise, I will hand over to Kyle and we will get started.
Hey everyone, Rebecca, I'm assuming you can hear my audio?
Yes, hear you well.
Awesome, I appreciate it. Welcome everyone. I am going to share my screen. And I'm going to be talking about a product called Caffeine.ai, which is all about going from idea to app in as quickly as possible. And I think I'm going to tie it into Bitcoin. Obviously, within ICP is a very phenomenal Bitcoin layer 2, as well as a lot of other things. But I really want to first focus on what Caffeine.ai is, how it's going to change the basically change the game within software development, and then give you guys a live demo of it. So Caffeine.ai, let's just jump to the first slide here. So Caffeine.ai is essentially a natural language, like a text to app product that allows you to talk with it, just like ChatGPT, just like Claude, just like Gemini. And as you talk with it, it can generate code, and then not only generate it, but then it can test that code and then deploy it to the web once you feel like you've got an application that's fully functional and meets your demands. So really handles the entire life cycle of software development, all through natural language. It's geared towards people who have regardless of the technical experience. So you can use it if you're a developer. You could also use it if you're not a developer. So like really trying to enable the 5 billion people with an internet connection to be able to self-service their own applications on the internet. And there's some really cool ways in which that's going to kind of like change how we interpret applications and app stores and things like that. I'll get into that a little bit later. But then also in addition to that, because Caffeine.ai launches applications onto the internet computer, that allows users of Caffeine to maintain full control over their application, including the data generated. And there's no vendor lock-in, no trust assumptions that you're introducing to other big tech solutions. So again, just to kind of summarize it: build, deploy, update, all with natural language. And it's so I know most of the people on here are probably developers or soon to be developers. And so this really kind of, I like to think of it as a good way for you to prototype before taking the next step to build a significant application. So here's the paradigm shifts that Caffeine.ai is introducing. I see in the chat everyone saying GM, so GM everyone. So first of all, again, you can rapidly build, debug, test, and deploy in under 5 minutes. So this means that you go from idea to working application in 5 minutes, which allows you as an entrepreneur to test your, test business theses without having to invest a lot of resources into it. I have an idea for an application. Is there a market that exists for this? What are the requirements of that application? What's the product market fit? Those kind of questions, you can get to those answers much sooner. The applications hosted by Caffeine.ai, created and hosted by Caffeine.ai, are 100% on chain. They're 100% on ICP, which means they inherit all of the benefits that you've learned about ICP over these last few weeks. Those are things like, again, there are smart contracts, so there's ownership, control over the application. There's decentralization. Your application's being hosted on a decentralized network, not a big tech cloud. There's also all the multi-chain stuff that ICP does so well, that inherently are capabilities that Caffeine.ai can do. One of those things is like Bitcoin, so reading Bitcoin state, generating Bitcoin wallets, facilitating Bitcoin transactions, Some of these are actually kind of turned off right now as Caffeine's in an alpha state for security reasons. Obviously, we don't want apps that are facilitating Bitcoin transactions that are fraudulent or incorrect, and so they're turned off. But for the most part, just over time, you're going to see Caffeine.ai is actually able to launch Web3 applications that do everything with Bitcoin that you would expect it to do, as well as all the other blockchains that ICP is integrated with. And then, and this is kind of a really cool feature, is the ability to iterate on your production app. So you have an idea, you have an application, you build it, you deploy it, you start getting some users. Now maybe you need to change your data scheme because you now want to move to another version. You've introducing new features into your application, or you're fixing bugs or something like that, and you need to change your data structure. Caffeine can handle that, and not only that, but migrate your existing data to that new structure. So from your end user's perspective, there's no loss of data. There's no hiccups in that. Caffeine again is managing the application lifecycle, not just from generating the code, but it also self-tests the code and fixes bugs, deploys it, and then allows you to keep moderating and keep iterating on that application without losing your current user data. I think this is one last slide before I get to like a live demo. As I get to the live demo, I'm going to open up Caffeine and I'm going to just basically start prompting it to build applications so you can see how this works. So if you have ideas for like an application, you want to really test this out, send them in the chat. I'll just copy paste it into Caffeine and we'll see what Caffeine does with it. I also have a few ideas myself that I'm ready to prompt to put into Caffeine. So if you don't have any ideas, I can go ahead and just use my ideas. But I like the idea of like just send some crazy ideas and we'll see what Caffeine does with it. All right, so time to market again. Now you're able to test new ideas in hours, not weeks. You're not sitting there spending weeks and weeks and weeks trying to build an application to see whether or not there's a product market fit for it. You can get it built, get it deployed, 5 minutes, and test that out. Tech stack complexity. So one of the problems that we have in traditional Web 2 is how complex chat tech stacks have become. So ICP is a single tech stack that does front end, back end, and data hosting, and so that actually solves a lot of that complexity. It actually makes it really nice for AI. AI actually is very good at deploying applications to ICP because of that lack of complexity on the tech stack. Again, Caffeine.ai is intended to drastically lower the barrier to entry. So if you're not a developer, you still can build your own applications and go live with them. If you are a developer, you can build a test application, take the code, and continue to iterate with it to get something well beyond what AI can do. And I think that would be a good way to differentiate your product, your application in the marketplace than someone else who didn't use that. Applications launched on Caffeine.ai have higher levels of security. That because ICP is a blockchain, the consensus mechanism makes tampering with your code or it makes it much more tamper resistant. Hacks are very rare on ICP because of that consensus mechanism. Web3 enabled. Again, I talked about this already, that Caffeine apps can benefit from all the ICP features, including Bitcoin, doing Bitcoin transactions, things like that. I really do see Caffeine kind of unlocking the next wave of innovation within Bitcoin, where people are building Bitcoin applications using Caffeine. And so now you have hundreds of millions of people capable of building their own application that uses Bitcoin, as well as any other ones. And then again, decentralization, no vendor lock-in. This is a key feature, especially for like enterprise software. Vendor lock-in is a major issue within SaaS. And so ICP is just a decentralized network. And so you're not, there's no big tech that can run up the price on you or, have various ways where it makes it challenging for you to get out of the system once you're in. All right, so let's go to a live demo. I see Steve has requested an on-chain chat app. That's a great idea. In fact, actually, that was one of my examples. So feel free to keep expanding on that. Like what kind of a chat app? What are you thinking about? maybe we can work with that. I personally, my idea is the I don't know how old the target audience is here, but I have enough gray hairs to kind of to have remembered a product called AOL Instant Messenger. We all called it AIM. It predates Facebook. It predates MySpace. Before MySpace was Friendster. If anyone's old enough to remember Friendster, this predates even that, and it was the greatest social media app, in my opinion, because you just chatted with your friends. You could put up an away message. It was all the rage for like 2 or 3 years. And so I actually have used Caffeine to replicate that again. We can do that. It's a great chat app. But if anyone else has any other ideas, think even outside, like, think about like within your own family, like, is there certain applications that you wish existed but don't? Is there within your place of work or the school that you go to, is there an application that you're like, oh, if we had this, it would make life a lot easier? But anyway, so as I start going through these live demos, look at how quickly the code is generated, and then Caffeine is able to deploy your application. The ease of iteration. So how easy it is to have Caffeine build you an app and then iterate on that app. The power of natural language. So again, all of this is just me typing into the computer. There's nothing much more complicated than that, and so that really unlocks it to anyone in the world. If we deploy, I can deploy an application into production, and then you guys can go ahead and enter some data into it, and then I can change the whole data schema, and you guys can see how data migration works within Caffeine. And then again, for the developers there of the availability of code and the ease of taking ownership of that code. So let me come over here. If I do this, perfect. Here's Caffeine. So just real quickly, you see, here's my existing projects down here on the left side. You can tell I've been using it for a little bit. Caffeine still is in alpha mode. I'll give you the timetable at the end of this. So what you're seeing here is alpha stage, but we're getting really close for the general public release. And then up here, you see a couple things. You have obviously an about. You can change some of the theme. This app market is something really cool I'll talk about in just a little bit. And then you can see for any particular project, you can see the spec document that Caffeine creates, the code that's being created. And then you can see what your app looks like in draft mode and what it actually looks like in live mode. So this is if you've gone to production. So while I wait for you guys to submit some ideas, let me pull up one idea. I'm just going to copy paste a prompt I've already done. So create for me a social media app that is similar to AOL's Instant Messenger. The core functions of the app are users create a profile after logging in. Profile should include screen name and bio. Screen name should be unique. No two users can have the same screen name. Users have a contact list. The contact list should show whether each contact is online, currently has the app open. If a user is offline, their away message should be visible. Users should be able to create chats with anyone in their contact list. Group chats can be created with multiple contacts, but they all must be contacts of the user. So again, I'm just telling the AI what my conditions are. Users should be able to leave an away message that is visible to their contacts, and users add contacts by sending a request. If other users accept the request, then both of them are added to each other's contact list. There needs to be a good search feature to find other users to send it. And then this is kind of a pro tip I've learned, is asking, what questions do you have? So AI is very similar to humans, where you give it a set of instructions, and there's a whole area outside of what you have told it that maybe it starts making assumptions of like, oh, well, he must have meant this and he must have meant that. So asking this, what questions do you have, is a great way to start to figure out where were you not clear enough to the AI and what assumptions it's making. I see Steve has asked, do you suggest using AI to make the prompt? Yes, that's actually really phenomenal. You can actually use Caffeine to ask it questions to help it make the prompt. I've also used Gemini as a way to kind of like describe an idea. I tell it I'm going to use a vibe coding platform to build the code, and I describe the idea, and then I ask it like, hey, how can I make this better? Oftentimes, what it's going to do is it's going to think of it from a developer standpoint, and it's going to say, okay, your data schemes are this, this, and this, be explicit, and it'll actually just provide you like the nested JSON for like how to create a table, which is kind of cool. So I'll say that. All right, so here's all this. Let's see what Caffeine tells me. I wonder with the live stream if it's my internet connections be a little bit slower. Okay, so this is a great feature set. Before I start building, could you clarify a couple things? Should users be able to update their screen name? Ooh, good question. Let's say yes, but it must be unique. All users. For group chats, do you want users to be able to name the group or just have a list of participants? That's a great question. Let's allow them to name the group. Let's do one more round of these. What other questions do you have? I'm reading as it's oh, okay. It says, hey, I don't have any more questions. Okay, great. Oftentimes I haven't seen that before. Usually it keeps asking questions. Okay, so what you see is it's now building out the spec document. I could review this to make sure it matches everything we wanted it to. And now it's building out the code. And so you can kind of see down here at the window, it starts building out the code. While it does that, let me answer some of these questions. Why was the beta app taken out? The one we can just prompt and let build and sign apps. I'm not quite sure what that question means. So Z, if you want to rephrase that, I'm not quite sure what that is. Would Gemini's models know what vibe coding is? Isn't it quite a new term? Honestly, Gemini seems to know what it is. It's been pretty good with that. I like it gives you updates on what it is doing. Yep, Adam, that's a nice little feature. You can kind of watch it go live. While it does that, let's get another app going. So the other example, so if you guys have ideas you want, feel free to ask. This is one I have 4 kids, and it's sometimes hard to make sure that all the kids know what chores they're supposed to be doing. And I'd like to be able to assign them tasks throughout my day. So, here's kind of another app I'd like. Create for me a family to-do list app. The core feature should be users log in. On their first login, they should provide their name. Users can create tasks. Tasks should have a title, a description, an assigned to field, and a due date. Only the title should be required. The main dashboard that shows all the non-completed tasks sorted by due date. Users should be able to easily mark a task complete from the dashboard. Users should be able to see all tasks assigned by clicking the link, and an admin section. So here I'm adding a little more complexity, saying, hey, there should be an admin section. Let's give it this. So this is like an example of an application that there probably isn't really a market for, like, so, or maybe there are apps like this that do like a family to-do list, but it's a very kind of niche product. I want to be able to customize it to my explicit family. I don't want it to be generalized into like all families. And so, but maybe I want to be able to share this with a couple friends who see it and stuff like that. So like kind of like a great idea of like, hey, software now starts, like this is an example where software becomes very self-served, where you can now build out an application to meet your specific needs without having to go to the market, go to like existing app stores and find applications that that kind of meet your needs, and then you change your needs to kind of meet what the application does. All right. Should anyone be able to register as an admin, or do you want to specify admins manually? The admin should be whoever logs in first. I'll keep it easy, because that'll almost always be me. And for the assigned to field, should users only be able to assign tasks to register? Users should only be able to assign tasks to registered users. All right, there we go. Let's come back to this. Still building the code, so a few more minutes on our instant messenger. Come back over here to some of these questions. Got Adam. How about an app that you can send it stats, the box score from a baseball game, and it generates an exciting summary of the game? Ooh, I like this. You know what? So here we go. Let's even make this a little more complicated. Build an app that you can send it a link to stats, the box score setter from a baseball game imaging. So you don't even have to hand type it. Like, what I want to do is be able to go to like ESPN.com, take the score, and just take a link and just drop it in there. All right, see for our family that's our family to-do list. Okay, now I'm getting lost. All right, here we go. AOL. So this is the first one we started. It says it has, we might have missed it. If we were watching this better, you would see that it actually did a round of testing on the code. So it ran through some QA tests and everything. And then if there were any errors, it would have fixed it. But now it's deployed it to the network. So now you can see this draft. So this is what the app looks like. If I go to sign in, it uses internet identity to sign in. So now this is tied to my passkey on the laptop I'm using right now, which is a really nice feature. So okay, so now we see contacts coming soon. Chat functionality will be available soon. For now, you can build your contact list and say, well, why is that? Well, that's kind of stupid. Let's ask it. Why is chat functionality coming soon? Let's add that now, please. I'll be nicer this time. I'll say please. All right. So now let's see if it answers my question. All right, doing a quick time check. Yeah, like Steve says, taking the highly sought after Kyle nickname. If anything, that's the greatest part about launching your own apps is you get the first dibs on creative usernames. All right, so it says, I'll add the full chat functionality now, including one-on-one and group chats with group names. So I've seen Caffeine do this a few times. Sometimes it'll build out, I should have spent a little more time on it, but sometimes it'll build out like the core structure, like the scaffolding of an application. And I think it probably was expecting me to check that out before it goes into deeper this functionality, the chat functionality, which can be a lot more complex. But because I'm doing a demo, I didn't do any of that. I instead just, hey, stop wasting my time. Do that. All right, here we go. Great. To clarify, do you want user space? Let's say. Yes, I'd like users to, let's just copy this. Yes, make the summary include images and highlights. All right, let's come back here. All right, so for our family to-do list, still generating the application code. Again, a good thing to do is review the spec document to make sure it captured exactly what it is that you wanted. We're building the AOL Instant Messenger out, and here's our baseball generator. All right, let me come back to the chat in our live stream. How about an app that encodes posts or encrypt posts and can only be opened or read by the specific reader is group? Okay, that's a good one too. Yeah, let's see. Let me do this. I think I've used up all mine. Let me just delete API. Let's go ahead and delete this app. Making some more room over here. Build an app. There we go. See what it does there. Anthony's asking, how soon can we add apps to the app market? So that's a great question. Let's go over here to the app market while we have all this coding going on. So the app market, I'm going to talk. I had a slide about this earlier, but since we have the question and Caffeine's working hard in the background, the app market is essentially as you get applications deployed and you get to more of like a final state for your application, there's this app market, which is still in beta, but you can deploy your application to here and other users can come and use it. And the idea is that in the future, in the very near future, you could charge a fee for cloning that application. So it's a way for, you know, somebody who's built a really great application, almost think of it like the App Store, except for there's no 30% fee. Instead, you would go, people who are interested in either using your app or building on top of your app would go and pay whatever fee you set up or free and clone your app. Once they clone the app, now they can use the app like normal, right? So it's almost like a way to you know, distribute your application, like people find it in the App Store and then they start using your application. But it also changes the paradigm where, let's say somebody's launched an application that you love 90% of it, but you hate 10% of it. You can clone that application that if it's in the App Store, and then you can change that 10% to make it that you hate to something you love. And so this model where, like, if you think about, for example, on my phone, I have my banking apps. And these apps are good, but not great. They do things I like them to do, but they do a lot of things I don't care about. And also there's some things I wish they would do differently. In this new model, you could imagine my bank would launch an app into the app market. I would clone it, keep the functionality that I like, change the functionality that I don't like. And now I have a very like customized bespoke application from my bank that I get to use. So you're no longer like, you know, this is kind of like a paradigm shift where you're no longer reliant on the vendor to provide the application and to keep updating it for you. So kind of a really cool paradigm shift for the apps, this app market. Just to clarify, would you like users to create posts that are encrypted so only members of a specific group can read them? Should group members be able to create and manage groups? Let's just say, and also, do you want to use internet? Yes, yes, and yes. All right. Emmanuel asks, when can we expect Web3 prompting, like create an app that interacts with ICP, CKE, CKBTC, for instance, user profiles with balances? So yeah, there is. So obviously Web3 integration is massive for Caffeine. The goal is that you can launch applications that can do all things Web3. So that would be all of what Emmanuel's saying here in the chat window, such as view wallet balances, maybe sign transactions, token transactions, maybe read states of like Solana, Ethereum, and Bitcoin, so you can see past transactions and current balances and that kind of stuff. Right now, Caffeine is set up so that if I were to ask it to do something like that, it would say, like, for security reasons, that's not possible. However, I have seen a couple applications where people have gotten around it. I've seen one application that's in production now where the application allows you to tip in CKBTC, and it's working. Although I've used it a few times, and one of the times it sent my CKBTC to like some random wallet. I'm not quite sure why it did that. But anyways, there are examples where people kind of worked around the AI to get around the security breach or the security message. And so the functionality is there. It's kind of turned off for now. You have to somehow figure out how to get around it. And it probably needs to be improved on before we turn it on to make it less risky. Okay, we're falling behind now. Our family to-do list is ready. Here, I can even open this up in its own tab. All right, so it gives me a splash page. I can sign in. Again, internet identity is the preferred way because now you get passkey, So you see I'm typing in a PIN number, but I could have done face. I could have done fingerprint. So here we go. So add a new task. Test task. And let's assign it a principal to create task. All right, there we go. And now, and I can, okay, so the requirement that I can easily mark it complete. If any of you got, actually, here, let's do this. Okay, so I come back here. That looked like it did the application I want. So now if I say, push this draft live for real usage. Family to do tracker. Go live. Okay, so now it's actually going to take that code, put it into its own standalone canister on ICP, and give it that URL address that I just asked it for. And maybe once I do that, you guys can also log in and test it out. Let's come here to the baseball summary. So what is it, Adam? Was it Adam or Adam? Did you have the idea for one? Why don't you, if somebody sends me a link, I'll plop it in here and see if it works. So you guys aren't just watching me go to ESPN or Major League Baseball and look around. All right, here we go. Now we're back to AOL Instant Messenger. Maybe we can create small game apps in just a few minutes with maybe pinball. I love that. Actually, here, let me show you. If I come here to this screen, come back here. This was a game. This was a block blasting game that I played on the airplane ride from Bitcoin Asia a couple of weeks ago. And I really liked it. But then when we landed, we couldn't play the game. Like the game was, I'd never seen this game before and everything. So then I just went to Caffeine and I gave it the directions of how the game works. And you can see kind of like now I have this game that I played on a plane, which is really fun. I also expanded on it to put a leaderboard and then to make different kinds of versions of it where like the blocks move or where there's, see if it'll put a roadblock or where there's like blocks that you can't, like, there you go, blocks that you can't break, that kind of stuff. So yeah, so it's great for small games. And then here we go. Here's our chat, our AIM messenger. So now if I wanted to really use this chat app, I would probably keep evolving it so that this interface is better. I'm not a big fan of how I would want the contacts to be over on the right and the chats to be in its own big giant window on the left. So I'm not really a fan of this user interface of that it's created. And great thing is I could just keep exploring changing it. So but instead of doing that, because I'm running out of time, I'm going to instead push this one live and you guys can play with it. I'll call it AIM. All right, so now let's go back to our family to-do list. Here's the live web app. I'm just going to copy paste this into the chat here. There you go. If you want to play with that. It's the family to-do list. AOL, that's going to take a second. And then here's our encrypted group post application. So it's going to have you sign in first. This is Z. I'm going to go ahead. I'll post this live too. Can't remember if I can put spaces in there. We'll post this. Come back here. Here's our live app. Let's post this in here. And then let's come back here. Okay, it's still deploying. So let's come back to our baseball. Okay, this one. Let's see. Thank you, Adam. Copy link address. We'll come over here. Let's see what it does. I think this is a really good test because now you're doing, it's basically has to scrape this website to get all the data. Okay, obviously it needs a little bit of work because This was Dodgers Phillies from a couple days ago. I know for a fact that that game did not end in a 0-0 tie. So what is this? It does give you a link back to what you provided it. Okay, so Dodgers, Phillies 3. Okay, so this one's going to need a little bit more work. I'll come back here. I provided the below link and it failed to scrape the box score data. And now we'll let it fix it. All right, let me come back over here to our live stream chat. What else you guys got for me? Steve's. Can we interact with external API? Yep. Yep, you can. I've done that multiple times. I've built a couple runes, Bitcoin runes applications that just interact with APIs that give us, so like you could do like a gated application that requires somebody to own a specific token, like a Bitcoin rune token, and then you can use an API to check if that wallet has that rune. Let's see. What else have we got? How long did prompting that game take? Let's see. So how long did prompting this take? I probably ended up spending about 3 or 4 hours building this. It actually got this classic pretty well done in probably about 30 minutes. But then I spent a bunch of time doing things like adding the sound. I don't hear the sound as it goes, adding the animations. There's a couple power-ups that when you get them. Oh, you can see the animation with the ball bouncing around. That took a couple prompts, that kind of stuff. So I would say maybe 4 hours total. Once I got the basic game down, I basically just described these other 3 games in one prompt, and it built the other 3 games. It was pretty much perfect on its first try. Thanks for letting me know. It looks like the app failed to scrape the box score from the MLB link. Would you like me to improve the app's ability to fetch? Yes, I would. I don't know why you had to ask me that. And get frustrated with AI just like you do people. All right, malicious code was detected on this website. So okay, so it looks like my family to-do tracker is getting flagged by Steve's network. The problem with that, you need API of certain platforms. How does the platform handle API keys? That's a great question from Steve. So the way I did it was I fed Caffeine basically like some API documents on what it would use to query. And then I said, create an admin where the admin will provide the API key, an admin section. And so then it creates an admin section, just like we did with, which app did we create an admin section? It was the family to-do list. So if I sign in here, although I think I'd said whoever logs in first. So if one of you guys logged in, you guys might be the admin. Let's see. But yeah, you can create an admin section. Did it give me the admin? Oh, admin panel, here you go. So you could have an admin panel and then just you would paste in your API key. That actually works really well. That's a good way to do that. Let's see what other questions we have from you guys. What if we ask the user to register and sync their own Google Calendar? Possible? I would assume so. You could probably do that through an API. I haven't tried that specifically. It's going to need access to your Google Calendar. So maybe you need to share your Google Calendar with some sort of service. I'm not sure how that would be possible, Anthony, but where there's a will, there's a way. You just have to try a few things out. Sound effects are very important. Thanks. Yeah, I like it. Okay, so as we wrap this up, where do we leave off? Let's go back to our baseball one. That's still generating the code. Oh, did I not? Let me provide this for Z. Here you go. There's your application. I'm not sure if it's going to meet the needs that you want it, but good something to play around with. And this baseball one is so cool. Let's see if we can get this working before we wrap up. Let's come back here. Let's get our link. What else did I say? So here you go. You see all the different data files that are being generated. You see as the AI is creating the code, it's flipping back and forth. In the future, you should be, in the very near future, you should be able to just click a button and deploy this to your GitHub repos if you want to take ownership of the code. Again, all of this is being deployed into a smart contract on ICP. So you could take ownership of that canister. And I was hoping this would it goes quickly. I want to try this out because I think this is kind of a cool idea. All right, draft web page. Here it goes. So you can see right now the app is in draft mode. When I tell it to go live, push this for real usage, then it gives it a permanent URL here. It'll drop off this draft, and it allows you to define the subdomain of the. Let's see if this works. Nope, still didn't work. So essentially, I'm going to be out of time, but what I would do is I would end up just kind of coming back here to Caffeine and continually working it out, saying, hey, it's still not working. Let's fix this together. And I'm pretty sure you could probably get it working. All right, let's see. Any last minute questions before I end the demo time? Nope. All right, so let's come back here to our slideshow. Come here, slideshow. Okay, so again, how quickly we can build and deploy. You saw I had 4 different applications going on at once, which is kind of a nice little feature for Caffeine. You're not doing things in series. You can do things in parallel. Really, actually, kind of a cool way if you have an idea that you want to prototype it like 5 different times at the same time and just kind of see where it goes is a great idea. Ease of iteration, you can see a couple times on the applications that I didn't like what it first created, and so I went back to the prompt and told it to change it. We didn't end up testing data migration in prod, sorry, but if you use those applications and I didn't even give you really a nice complex data structure application. So that's a miss on my part. But yeah, Caffeine handles data migration, including when data schemas change very easily. And then the availability of the code and the ease of taking ownership. All right, so we have some questions on the roadmap. As it is now, the public launch is scheduled for October 15th. At that point, I think anyone can use Caffeine. I don't know if there's any gating we'll have on that public launch, but that's the last I'd heard for when that's coming out. There will be a subscription service that'll be launching soon. So this will, there's going to obviously be a freemium option, which is kind of what I was using now. It's probably what you could imagine will be the free option, and then there'll be ways to like make it so you can deploy more applications and maybe even get priority of your prompts and that kind of stuff. So there will be a subscription service. I talked about the app market and kind of how that's going to revolutionize the idea of applications where, you can vibe code yourself something, you can vibe code something great, and then other people could pay you for the right to clone it. You can imagine, also in Web3, this could be really important because you could build a kind of like an infrastructure application that other people can clone and evolve it themselves. We talked about the multi-chain services. So again, since all of this is hosted on ICP, and ICP is a very phenomenal multi-chain blockchain, you can do things with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, as well as ICP tokens that you using Caffeine apps. And then there's a bigger idea. I mean, I think in enterprise grade, Caffeine is something that's going to be super interesting as you think about like big and medium-sized companies or even small companies will empower their employees to, instead of go out and purchase software and SaaS, instead they just build it themselves and build the tools they need to operate the business. All right, so a couple of FAQs before I hand it back over to Rebecca. And then, these are the questions I get asked all the time when I talk about Caffeine. Can we trust AI with our crypto? What will happen with developers? And what apps will be the big winners? I say this, people say, no way we trust AI with our crypto. That's a fair statement, very, very fair statement. And especially with AI as it stands today, you probably shouldn't. However, again, I have enough gray hairs. I used AOL Instant Messenger around the time of AOL Instant Messenger. So this is like late 90s. In fact, actually, I was using eBay back when you didn't use your credit card on eBay. Instead, you purchased something by mailing, by physically mailing a check to the seller. The seller would cash that check and then mail you the product you bought. And that was because there was a period of time in which if you put the idea was the meta narrative was if you put your credit card into the internet on any website, it was all your money was gonna be stolen. People did not trust credit cards on the internet. Like a year after that, e-commerce just blew up. Things like PayPal kind of solved a lot of the friction and the trust issues. I think the same thing's going to happen with AI. Once consumers start demanding AI to be able to sign transactions on their behalf, crypto transactions, I think you're going to see there's going to be infrastructure that gets built that makes it so we can trust AI. Are devs cooked? No, absolutely not. Oh yeah, thank you, S, for putting in the Caffeine.ai link, as well as the links to the socials. Are devs cooked? Absolutely not. In a world in which anyone can self-service the applications that they want, there will still be a lot of demand for people who are capable of going beyond that step, much in the same way that it used to be. It used to be that if you could program a website, then you were like in super high demand. And then Wix and Squarespace came along with like super easy website building tools. That did not kill front-end development at all. In fact, if anything, now front-end developers are even more in demand because what it did was it basically surfaced unmet demand for websites. The same thing will happen with these kind of vibe coding platforms where people will self-service small-scale applications that they want, but yet developers will then be able to find a lot of business in either taking those to the next stage or unlocking new capabilities that AI is not trained to do. And then finally, one of the things I like to always say is, so as the cost to build and deploy goes to zero, again, that's what Caffeine is essentially doing. Every online community should have self-service apps. So think about all the online communities you're in. Maybe it's the token community if you're in Web3. Maybe it's you're a fan of a sports team. Maybe you're in a community that plays a specific game. Whatever you're doing online, you should have that community of people should have their own applications that they're using that are tailor-made to meet the needs of that community. Or another way to say it is, if you're looking for ideas of what to build, always build into a community, a pre-existing community, because now like you're going to like a community that you're already in, you're going to understand what the needs are. You're going to understand the kind of like the personality of that community. You're also going to have a built-in customer base to use whatever application you build. And so that's I think the one thing I would hope that you guys would take away from this is in terms of stop thinking about like, oh, what's a cool idea for an app, and then trying to find the people who might use that app. Rather, start with a group of people who have a need and build an app that fits that need. And it can be extremely niche. It can be extreme because the cost and the time is so small. It can be extremely niche to where you're like, I know 15 people who want an app that does this. I can build it for them in 30 minutes and get it in their hands. That's kind of the future. Again, Caffeine.ai is where it's at. And then on X, you'll find it at Caffeine.ai. They also have a pretty good LinkedIn presence as well, just at Caffeine.ai on LinkedIn. So unless there's any other further questions, I can hand it back and stop sharing. Hand it back for the final messages. Appreciate everyone's time, and thanks for joining me and get building on caffeine.
Thank you so much, Carl. I was worried that I wasn't letting you join the stage. I thought I was going to leave you stranded, but hopefully you can all see and hear me now. Thanks very much, Carl, for delivering that final session in the bootcamp. It's really exciting that the release of Caffeine came so close to the bootcamp taking place that we were able to have that extra session. And from previous workshops, it's something that people have been interested in. So thank you for coming and delivering that. I'm going to send you backstage again now, and I'm going to very quickly share my screen as we start to wrap up the bootcamp. So massive congratulations to everyone who has made it this far. A big thank you especially to those of you who are attending live as opposed to watching the recording of this session. It's great to see the interaction in the chat. It's great to see that you're excited about the projects and everything that you can do on ICP. And I really hope that you've taken a lot out of the Bitcoin DeFi Bootcamp and you're ready to keep going. Because, sorry if you can hear my notifications there, because aside from congratulating you for all the hard work that you've done in learning on this bootcamp, we have a big announcement to make. And this is something that we've been seeing questions asked about very recently, because those of you who have been paying attention closely in class are ready to take the next step, and that is to start building. So I'm really excited to announce that coming up after the bootcamp, we are going to have the ICP Bitcoin DeFi Hackathon, which is the opportunity for you to use the skills that you've gained or the knowledge that you've gained from watching the bootcamp workshops and start to put them into practice for real. So I hope you're really excited to get started and building. The hackathon is officially launching on the 27th of October, but as bootcamp alumni, so those of you who are graduating from the bootcamp, which I'll talk about in a second, those of you who are successfully graduating, you are allowed to start building now, and your submission will still be valid even though it started being built before the launch date of the hackathon. So in order to make sure that your submission is considered, even if it started building earlier, you need to make sure that when I send an email around tomorrow, you apply for your graduation certificate, so you can get certified that you finished the Bitcoin DeFi Bootcamp, and then we'll also use this in the hackathon to ensure that you are alumni, and that is why you're allowed to start building early. So I hope you're really excited to get started. I will share the link now for where you can register early for the hackathon. Let me find the chat. You can register at this site here, so please do make sure if you're looking forward to building, you pre-register and fill in all the questions so that we can make sure that your submission is reviewed fairly, as it should be, given that you start building earlier than most of the cohort. But anyway, otherwise, everyone, thank you for joining us on this 4.5-week journey. I hope you've taken lots out of it, and I hope that you'll continue to participate in our future ICP programs. All the recordings will still be available to you after the program finishes. You can access them all on the same bootcamp page that you've been accessing them, the meeting links from during the sessions. They'll still be available for you. If you want to rewatch them before the hackathon, you're absolutely welcome to, but the hackathon will also have some more workshops from some of our favorite speakers from the bootcamp for you to deep dive a bit further and with a bit more technical or hands-on content. So I'm really looking forward to that launching, and I will see you all in a couple of weeks for that. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great time, and if you do start building, I hope that you feel you've got a solid background to get started. Thank you everyone for joining us again today, and I will see you around.